Hello, my name is Michael Garrick, and this is PoppinCulture Movie Reviews. My guest today is Ryan Pichoff. He's a comedian, and he's also the host of Ryan Likes Wrestling. If you're in the Columbia, South Carolina, or North Carolina area, make sure you check him out. He's a hilarious comedian. Thank you for coming on for the movie review.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. The movie we'll be reviewing today will be Forrest Gump. Ryan chose the movie. Before we get into it, this will be a 100% spoiler review. But before we spoil the movie, do you believe they should watch it if they haven't?
Oh, for sure, man. Like this is a classic. Like it's arguably one of the best movies in Tom Hanks's history of acting. Like it's a great movie. It's got fun. It's got all the best parts, like it's got action scenes. It's got funny parts. It's got sad parts. It's a love story involved in there. And then it also ties in, actual events from like our country's history. And it's arguably, in my opinion, one of the best movies ever. So yes, highly recommend.
Nice. And I agree also. You should definitely go see it. If you have USA Network or Freeform, just wait. You'll see it.
It'll pop up.
Yes. Everything past this point will be 100% spoilers. So overall, the beginning of the movie, do you like the introduction?
I think it's a really good introduction for a movie. I think it provides the necessary backstory for all of your main characters with, Jenny's tragic upbringing, which is really plays on her as a character throughout the whole movie. Then you also have Forrest's upbringing with, how he can't walk, but then, he starts running, and that's how the whole, running trope kind of starts and goes throughout the whole movie. It documents kind of like the relationship that Forrest had with his parents, only being his mom. And it speaks on like the very human thing that we do when we say like, oh, when I have my kids, I'm gonna be better than my parents. And that's why, when he has a little baby Forrest, and Jenny's gone, he's staying around. He's the dad that he didn't have. Yep. So great movie intro.
Yeah. What I really like about the intro is, and I don't know if you've noticed in some movies, they really don't handle narration well. Like they'll just have you talk. They'll just have the main character talking to the audience.
Yeah.
But with this movie, as soon as the bus drives by, you see him on the bus stop sitting beside the first person that sits beside him.
Yeah.
So now he has someone to talk to, and now it's not awkward anymore. Like who has he been talking to this whole time? It's whoever's sitting beside him at the bus stop.
Yeah, and I think that as like a storytelling tool lends itself throughout the whole movie because it'll cut from a flashback to current day, and then you've got the switch, about 3/4 into the movie or so where he finds out from the lady, oh well, that's just right down the corner.
Yep.
And now we're no longer living in a flashback. We're present day Forrest.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that was done very, very well. Just to start back with Forrest, talk about his childhood. I thought those child actors did the best they could. They weren't great, but I thought they did the best they could.
Well, the thing I like about it is especially with child actors is I don't really know who they are today. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
true.
Because like when I see a child actor and then I know later on in life they have a really tragic backstory, or like a really tragic life, or like a Macaulay Culkin before a couple years ago, you know what I'm saying? Before he started his own podcast and kind of cleaned up and stuff. Prior to that, Home Alone was kind of a sad movie when when you see Macaulay Culkin, he's like, oh yeah, that's that kid. And then you
see that guy now.
And it's just like,
man.
But I don't know who those child actors are. I don't know if they had a tragic life after Forrest Gump, and that the fact that they're anonymous like that, I kind of like it.
Yeah. This movie was released in the 90s, I believe, 90s. Do you think this movie could be made the same exact way today?
I think if they were to make Forrest Gump today, it wouldn't focus on that Vietnam era. I think I don't really know what it would focus on. I think it would try to do the similar events, but maybe 20 years in the future. You know, like instead of investing in Apple, he invested in Bitcoin.
Yep.
Like something like that.
Yeah. To tie back in when they were kids, like I said, it was very lighthearted, and then it got to, and even the dark scenes, they're never too dark, or they brush over it. When you found out about Jenny's father, when I was a kid watching this movie, I didn't get it, but as an adult, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
Do you think that storytelling was very well done in that case?
I mean, I think it's great when you have moments like that where, you know, as a kid you don't get it, but you know, it gives it rewatchability. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where it's like, oh yeah, I remember watching this movie when I was a kid, and then it's on. I'll give it a go. I'll take a look at it. It is like a 3-hour movie,
Yes.
so you gotta sit down for that one. But you rewatch it, and you're just like, oh, I don't remember that, or oh, this is a lot worse than what I remember it was, or you know, however that goes. And I think that is a true mark of a really good movie, is something like you can rewatch down the years and still find new things about it.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. When it came to she doesn't have too much in the movie, but she is a major part of Forrest's mom.
Yeah.
I liked her scenes very much, just because it showed how much she cared to the end.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was very well displayed. Not over Forrest, but like she never really treated him like he was special.
No, and I think she was an incredibly, you know, supportive mom. And there is that scene where she's having sex with, is it the principal or the doctor?
It's the principal.
It's the principal. Yeah. That's right. And you can look at that a few different kind of ways, but you know, if you want to take a really, you know, positive light at it, she's a mom who's willing to do anything for her son, you know, and her son, he knows it's going on.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, principal walks out and he mocks the principal like, you know. So, like, Forrest knows, you know, but his mom, she'd go to the ends of the world for him, and she was supportive no matter what he went off and did, you know, because Forrest did do a lot, you know, like played in the Olympics for the United States against China and allowed her entire house to get filled up with his ping pong merch.
Even before that, going to college and like breaking records.
Right. Or going off to war,
Yeah.
you know, like before the ping pong stuff. Like his mom was so supportive of him throughout the end. And she didn't, like you said, she didn't treat him different or special. She just treated him like her son, you know.
And I think that's when we transferred to the military part of the movie.
Yeah.
When he met Bubba on that is still so, you know, everybody remembers that. Like, you can do so many different things with shrimp. Bubba, like, the character Bubba, did you kind of see that it was like, okay, now we have someone on his level that we can see the story from? Or did you see it as like, we got to get some black person in this movie?
So I think it speaks to one of the like higher kind of like themes in the movie is, you know, how do I put this? So there's, on top of just Bubba as the character, there's a lot of racial undertones, and it speaks to a lot of like racial issues throughout the United States, especially when we get to like the Black Panther part and you know, the flower power scenes and all that. But I think it goes to show, like, I think Forrest is meant to be a character that's relatable to the everyman. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And despite his disability, I think it's the thing that kind of separates him from everyone. You know, he's the everyman, but he's different from the people at the top. You know what I'm saying? And he's just trudging through life. And I think when we see Bubba, it gives it that theme of, okay, well, the everyman comes in every color, you know, and, you know, Bubba being, you know, mentally defect in the same way that Forrest is, you know, it's meant to show that, you know, like the every man comes from every color kind of thing, and it bridges that gap, you know.
So. And I think even though they didn't have, even when I look back on it yesterday, I rewatched it. They don't have a lot of scenes together.
No, very few scenes, but they take those few scenes and they do a lot with them. Yeah. You know, like you see the beginning of, you know, Bubba and Forrest's friendship when they're, you know, heading off to, was it Basic?
Yep.
You know, or then you see them get shipped out, and then suddenly they're knee deep in the shit, you know, and now Bubba's dead. And you feel for Forrest in that moment because it's the one person that he could really relate to and that he saw, you know, as his brother. In fact, they mentioned it, you know, coming out. Is like, where are you boys from? Mobile, Alabama? Y'all brothers? No, sir, we are no kin, you know, or something like that. Yeah. And you know, it's the one person that he could really identify with is now gone.
Yep.
You know, yeah.
And then to bounce to my favorite character in the movie, Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, they introduced in flashbacks to his family.
Yeah.
They're showing that each one of his family members died in the war.
Yeah.
So not saying it's set up for what would happen, but it was kind of like that was. When it happened, I wasn't surprised, but I thought that was a very good way to set this up. When Forrest saved his life, the scene after that, when they're both in medic, you know,
yeah,
and he just grabs Forrest off the bed. I don't know why, maybe because I'm in the medical field, but that is the funniest shit ever. Just to know that this man has no legs and like, you know what, I'll still kill you, like you know.
I see people like that at work too, man.
Okay, it's just, you know how much hate you gotta have to know you might
like
lose.
A lot too. Like I just like how somehow they ended up right next to each other. Yeah. Lieutenant Dan loses his leg, Forrest shot in the ass. Yeah. You know, like you have two very different levels of trauma, and they're just right. That said side by side, you might want to think you might want to separate them just a little.
Yeah, like for real. But maybe that's how it was back then. I mean,
hey, I don't know. I've never been to war.
No, me either. I tried my best. I'm flat-footed. They say no. So, but then we go into the ping pong part of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like it was forced in, or do you think it was well done?
I think it was necessary. I think it was a necessary break from kind of the serious scenes from the war that we saw prior. It was. I think the ping pong stuff is a real like palate cleanser for the viewer. You know, where it's still like it gives Forrest another little walkthrough to get to another point in the story, another major beat in the story. And it's kind of fun, you know. It's just another little thing that kind of helps develop Forrest as a character.
Yep.
You know.
And this is where we get to the technology at that time. Just to put Tom Hanks in those, you know, those scenes
throughout time. Yeah. You know, like when he was it's always the scenes where he's meeting the president. Yeah. You know, where it's just like, how did they get JFK in that?
And matter of fact, I thought it looked better than sometimes the way they try to do it now. It looked way better.
Yeah, like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, I wish I did, because that would be a cool little superpower to have. Yeah. But that's just crazy.
When he mooned the president, that was hilarious. Because it has no, you got shot in the butt. Yes. Can I see? And it's just, you know, it's not the president's voice. Like, it's somebody that was just like, all right, we got this one shot with the president's back turned. Just, it's hilarious. And then we get to the hippie part of the movie, if that's the right way to put it. Hippie / Black Panther part of the movie. Like you said, everything led up to each thing. You know, they talked about history done well. Do you think that was there to show something about that time, or do you think that was there just because we got to get Jenny back in the story somehow?
So I don't think that they put it in solely to bring Jenny back into the fold, but I do think it's something that, I mean, it didn't hurt to have, you know? And so I think having these scenes similar, close to each other, where like the introduction of Bubba, and then, you know, he comes back from that and he's welcomed back into a different kind of America. We see Jenny with the white guy who's really pro Black Panther. So like, okay, it kind of shows you the difference. Whereas Forrest, he went off, he fought for the country, he bonded with, you know, a black guy that's very similar to him, that they were, you know, considered brotherly, you know, and he comes back, and the love of his life is with a guy who is all for the, you know, black movement, and he's just like, it's almost like he's fronting, you know, he's fronting it, and he's actually a piece of shit.
Yeah, just,
you know, like
just
he's
hitting Jenny for no reason,
like
right?
he's a shitty person. You know what I'm saying? And it's those values. You know what I'm saying? Like Forrest is an ally, you know, to people of all culture, because he doesn't identify culture. You know, his, whether he's too simple to really focus on that or not, or whatever, he's an ally regardless, because he knows it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Whereas the guy that Jenny's with in the Black Panther scene, he's an ally because he feels like he has to be, not because his heart's in it. You know what I'm saying? Because he's not a good guy. You know, that's where I think we see the difference. And then when, even after, you know, Forrest beat the shit out of the guy. He just hopped over a table and whooped his ass, full dress. And as he's leaving, he's like, "I'm sorry for ruining your Black Panther party," you know. And, you know, even after ruining the Black Panther party, he apologized for it. You know what I'm saying? Because like his beef wasn't with them; it was with the piece of shit dude that Jenny was with.
You nailed the voice too.
Thank you. Yeah. I've watched the movie 20 times.
Okay.
And like, just wait till we get to the whole scene with like Forrest and Jenny in the house, and Forrest has to leave. I got that one.
Okay. Cool.
On lock.
Cool. Can't wait. And I hope I'm not skipping anything, but after that, that's when we get to the fish boat.
Yeah, where he starts up Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Yeah.
In name of Bubba.
Yeah.
Because he got his money from the ping pongs, and he went back to Louisiana, gave the money to Bubba's mama.
Oh yeah.
And she didn't have to be a maid anymore.
Got a white maid.
She got a white maid.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
I hope that didn't sound wrong. Forget where.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm white. Okay.
I didn't mean to say it with so much happiness. Like you kept a straight face.
You gotta imagine though. That is a big moment though, where you get to reverse the roles.
Yeah,
you know, I'm not mad at it. I'm all for it.
Because it was like generations of like family being made. Yeah.
Flip it. Yes. Why not? You got the money.
Exactly. And also I like the fact that like he didn't just become good at it. Like he had to like go out there a few times.
Yeah, he sucked a few times.
And
you
matter
know?
of fact, he still sucked. It was that storm.
Yeah, it was the storm that really pushed him up. You know, and that's another thing, another one of those like overarching themes that you see where it's kind of like God is on the side of the everyman. You know, like I'm not religious,
Me either.
but you got to admit, Forrest got lucky multiple times throughout this movie.
Even started with the college thing. He was
able
to run
ran.
fan.
He just so happened to run on the practice field, and the coach is like, "I want him."
Legs were not working, and then legs just start working.
Yeah, like there's multiple miracles that follow this guy throughout his lifetime in this movie, and with Forrest identifying as like the everyman character, you get that theme of, well, God is on the side of the everyman.
Yes,
you know,
exactly. And then we get to Lieutenant Dan keeping his promise. Like, if you became a fishbowl captain, I would join. Do you remember the scene of them in church?
Oh yeah, the black church.
Yeah.
Forrest is really hype. He's in the choir. Yeah.
and Lieutenant Dan is just like, why did he let me die?
It's okay. So I think I might be jumping the gun on this one.
It's okay.
But I think this is this is great for the story of Lieutenant Dan, you know, because like when we first introduced to him, his generational like thing is they live to die, basically. You know, like I'm gonna live, I'm gonna serve, I'm gonna die. And Forrest, just being, I guess, an angel, you know, with all this, saves him. And you see the scene where they're in medical, and he's so pissed off that he's not dead, and he can't come to grips with the fact that maybe his purpose isn't to die, you know. And then they wind up together on New Year's. They wind up on New Year's with the hookers. And, you know, we see Lieutenant Dan, he's really let his life go to shit. You know, he is that legless veteran, homeless guy that we see, you know, panhandling. He's turned into that. And since kind of like teaming up with Forrest and working on the shrimp boat and whatever, it culminates with him just diving off the side and swimming off, and we don't see him until Forrest gets married. And you know, it's almost like he had to die spiritually and like mentally, you know, like Lieutenant Dan after the war is not the same Lieutenant Dan that was in the war. He's a shell of himself. So he had to let all that die, and then he had to have like a rebirth kind of thing with Forrest, and then he accepts his fate that he's not meant to die in war, and he just swims off, and then he finds happiness with his, and he got new legs.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Dan, you got new legs.
Yes. You got the voice. In your stand-up, if you can find a way to put that joke in, you got it, man. If you can fit that anywhere in your stand-up, you got it. But then Forrest gets the horrible news that his mother's sick.
Yeah.
And that ain't funny. He just jumps off the boat. Like,
yeah.
He's just like, oh.
Mama!
Yeah, like, he gets that letter and just like, all right, I got to go back.
Yeah.
And then it just shows him, again, emphasizing through the whole movie, running.
Yeah.
It says Jenny, I'm sorry for skipping over this, guys. There's a part in the movie where Jenny tells him to run when his dad is chasing them. But,
yeah.
And that scene of running influences the rest of the movie of running. But,
yes.
I guess he just remembered what Jenny said, and he runs back to the house. Like,
that's how that running is how Forrest Gump survived.
Yes. Everything.
Know? So like from the first scene where he starts running and like the leg braces fall off, and like he hops the fence and he's just darting all the way to when it flash forwards and he's like full grown man, kind of like fresh out of high school or whatever, and they're still chasing him with the truck, and now he's running, and then that's how he ends up with Alabama University. Is he's getting chased, he runs, he flees, he gets found, and then that's and it follows him. You know.
And like I said, the mom's not in a lot of scenes, but you could really feel like a genuine relationship when he visits his mom in the bed.
Oh yeah.
And she passes away, and I believe this is where Jenny comes in.
She comes back.
Yep.
I think she's done with the whole hippy dippy stuff. Yeah. She did her, so after hippy dippy stuff, remember she went out to like California or something, and she was like drugged out. She was about to jump off a ledge, and then Mama dies, and that's when Jenny comes right back, I guess, to kind of fill a void, or I don't know, maybe she just got herself cleaned up and, you know, figured, oh, I gotta come back to Forrest because he's the only one who's really cared for me my entire life.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's not, like I said, it's a great movie. Like, Jenny was the only plot of the movie where every time I watch it, I'm like, I see why she's in it, but every time she comes back, it just seems forced.
Well, so the character of Jenny, upon like first watching it, you're like, okay, you've got this guy who is going to follow you to the ends of the earth. You know, yes, he's a little different, but he's a great guy, you know. And I think that's the struggle that she has with herself throughout the whole movie, is like, so her daddy never loved her. You know, her daddy
loved her too much.
Well, yeah, loved her a little too much. Loved her a way daddy shouldn't love a kid.
Exactly.
And like, so she's got her own like trauma she has to go with, but she doesn't want to transfer that on to Forrest because I guess she loves him too much. She loves Forrest so much that she doesn't want to include Forrest in the deep, dark parts of her life. You know, the struggle. For whatever reason, maybe Forrest can't handle it because, I mean, there was that time Forrest went to go visit her in college and dude was they were trying to get a little hanky spanky in the car and he beat the crap out of that guy.
Yeah.
You know, like Forrest just has a history of beating up dudes who hit on Jenny.
Yeah.
And I guess Jenny didn't want to sully that image of her that Forrest has. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's why she has to go. That's why she has her own separate arc for the first, portions of the movie,
I thought that sex scene was hilarious.
Which one? The one in the car?
No, the one with Forrest and her.
Oh, it is a little awkward because, like, I mean, you imagine he doesn't understand it, and didn't she had AIDS? Didn't she?
I think it was after Forrest, but yeah,
After Forrest.
I want to say it's after.
Yeah, because she did go off again.
Yep.
She went off again.
She keeps living.
Like
It's, every time the plot is like, no, we need her to come back. Find something, write something for her to come back. But we gotta talk about Forrest running for 3 years or jogging for 3 years.
He ran across the United States from one end to the other, and then he just kept on running. And there's just so many that. It's another scene like the ping pong one where it's like it's a palate cleanser from the serious storyline because you see so many funny little bits in there like the "It Happens" bumper sticker, or the dude who's selling yellow T-shirts, but then he drops it.
Everything is because of Forrest.
Yeah, and Forrest wipes his face in the shirt, and out comes a perfect smiley face, and then that's a logo forever. It's the tiny little things in there. And the funny part of it, the thing that kind of makes me laugh is when he starts running from there. I missed it. Okay, so he starts running across the United States because him and Jenny have a back and forth in the house, and he looks at her and says, "I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is," and darts off. And whenever they ask him, "Why are you running?" "I just like running. I just started running and just kept on running and running and running." It's comical because at the end of it, when he's got this following of people, it's a cross country thing. He's like a flippin' bearded caveman. All of his clothes are tattered and stuff just from running.
Yes.
And he's just like, "Well, figure I'm gonna go home now." And he just goes home.
Yeah, he's just like, well, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
And just to see all his followers just go
They're like, "What?
Oh, okay. Okay. That's really it. And then we get to the end of the movie where, like you say, he does make the decision. He finds out he's a father. Like you said in the beginning of the review, that's where they tell him, "Hey, you can just walk there." So he walks. He meets Jenny. He meets his son, and
little baby Forrest, one of the cutest kids ever.
Yeah,
little baby Forrest.
And every twist this movie had, well, it wasn't a lot of twists, but a lot of turns. This was for me, it was like, yo, I did not see this.
Yeah.
Nowhere in this movie did it say this would happen.
The first time I saw it, I'm just like, little baby Forrest?
Yeah.
What? No. Yeah. And about second or third time, I'm like, no, wait, Jenny has AIDS. Is that it? That's not AIDS, baby. And it's not, which is good, but it's just... but it's like you shouldn't be surprised because it's Jenny. Yeah, no, because everything up to this point says, well, yeah, Jenny and Forrest should have some sort of happy ending or something like that, and maybe they'll grow old together or something like that. That doesn't happen.
No.
Spoiler alert.
That is all 100% spoiler. But this is. I mean. But I think it was. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was like, I think it's a nice way to kind of, tie the story in a bow. Though is Forrest gets his kid and he gets to become a daddy, and it's new for him, and he's worried and scared because he's it takes him a minute to put the pieces together. That's his kid. Jenny's like, oh, his name's Forrest, just like his daddy, and he's like, my name's Forrest.
Yeah.
And like it's that moment that you're just like, like it's just so nice.
Yes.
And
They tied it up, I believe, very well.
Yeah.
This movie is 3 hours.
Yeah.
In your opinion, is there anything you feel like they could have, because it's a great movie, or they could have cut out?
I don't know, because like even like the smaller, like the fine little details that they leave in there, like after they get the baby and like it's showing their life afterwards before Jenny dies. It's like, well, Forrest invested in Apple. It's a very tiny detail, but like it's left in to kind of explain, well, Forrest now has a multitude of money. Like he's never going to have to worry for the rest of his life about anything. And then just stuff like the Bubba Gump Shrimp Co. Like that plays into the future, like the smaller details and like any scenes, like they all end up playing off of each other, and I don't think you can take anything out. I'm sure there were scenes that were supposed to go in that they cut out already, but I don't. Yeah. It's a long story, but I mean, all of it is it's all woven together really, really good.
I agree 100%. Every time I'm like, man, they could have. No, I like this part.
Yeah, like there's at least something in there that kind of, and you think if you take out a certain piece of it or something like that, if you take out a scene from it, well, now you have to change something down the line, and that's, yeah.
If it wasn't Tom Hanks, who else could play Forrest?
Good Lordy. I don't know, because like there's, I don't know why in my brain I'm thinking Jim Carrey could be something ridiculous as Forrest Gump, but I think like we were talking about before we were recording and everything, there's one of two ways to play the special needs character, and you can either play it comically and degrade it, or you can do it tastefully, like how Forrest Gump and how Tom Hanks portrayed the character. And I'm not knocking any actors by saying I don't think they could do as good of a job as Tom Hanks, but Tom Hanks did a really good job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who could play it better or who could even play it as tasteful as Tom Hanks did, to not degrade, special needs people.
I 100% agree. I can't see anybody else in that role.
Like it's hard, and it's something that's just so iconic with Tom Hanks as an actor. Like it's an iconic role.
Yes. 1 through 10, what do you give this movie?
Oh, man, 10.
Nice.
12, 20. I've seen it 20 times.
Nice. My last question with you, I feel like we're both going to give the same answer, but do you think this movie will become or has become a part of pop culture?
I think it has to. Like, it's already become like pop culture, and the story itself it's almost like a really nice refresher, or like a nice like catch me up with like that Vietnam era or post Vietnam era, because of a big chunk of the story happens then, and a lot of, I think, like current pop culture stuff is motivated by that time when there was a big counterculture movement,
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a roadmap for some pretty like nice little pit stops in pop culture history. And I think being that it is that kind of roadmap thing, it's become a part of pop culture itself, like before you even watch the movie, you've heard people say, I love you, Jenny.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong, life is like a box of chocolate. It's still pretty stupid. But like I remember like clear face, like me like in 10th grade and the teacher saying that, and I'm just like, I mean, I was like, yeah, because I wanted to make an A, but in my mind, I'm like, no, this deal doesn't make sense.
No,
like,
not at all. Okay.
like, no, I've had Boston chocolate. This is I was never like life, you know. So no. Fun fact though, before we end the review, did you ever hear about the sequel?
No.
The director shot it down immediately.
Good.
Yes.
Forrest Gump is a movie that should not have a sequel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lump it along with another movie that should have never had a sequel, but it did. Joe Dirt. It's a similar kind of, Joe Dirt with...
I didn't know about the sequel.
There's a sequel.
I do like Joe Dirt. I do like that movie.
Yeah, Joe Dirt, great movie. It has a sequel, but it's a movie that never needed a sequel. And the sequel was so bad that it premiered on I can't remember what the platform was, but it was a free streaming platform. It was like one of those knockoff Netflix platforms that you didn't have to pay for anything, but you got on-demand B-side movies. Yeah. Joe Dirt 2 was on there, and it stunk it up. Yeah. And the same thing would happen to Forrest Gump, but I think the size of Forrest Gump and like the stamp that it has like put into the movie industry as like a cinematic masterpiece or whatever, if they did a sequel to that, it would just completely destroy, it would tarnish the value of Forrest Gump. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it's a movie that doesn't need a sequel.
No.
We've told a story. There's no reason to milk it.
No. Like we let the viewer just piece together how Forrest and Forrest Jr.'s life post Jenny will play out. Yeah. And, it'll probably be good because Forrest is a good dude with a good heart who has good morals for his son.
Exactly. Well, thank you for coming on to the movie review. Is there anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Follow me on Twitter at Likes Wrestling. Friend me on Facebook. I love friends at Ryan Pichoff. And check out my podcast, Ryan Likes Wrestling Podcast. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you again, and you guys have an amazing day.
Yeah.